Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Danny Nixon, the Captain Logan Show. I am
No, you
Captain
had it right
Logan.
the first time.
And
oh, no.
Joining us this evening is former Geekvolution intern and good friend of mine, Alden Diaz. Hi, Alden.
Former or last? Or first and last?
He was the first. He was the last. Yeah.
I was the alpha and the omega of the interns.
I want to say, Alden, so good to see you. Thanks for joining us, buddy.
Of course. I'm so glad we got to talk again. I'm glad to... This is the first time Danny and I have ever spoken over voice. I think we've spoken a couple of times via text, but...
Danny, Alden, Danny.
Nice to meet you. Virtual handshake.
Hello, sir.
It's great to see everybody. Thanks a lot for being here. Yeah, I'd argue that Danny was sort of the second intern and then graduated or morphed or evolved into something else on the channel. I mean, we call him the producer on this show, but he does so much stuff for us on the channel. It's hard to give him a title.
Yeah, producer makes sense.
But anyway, so I see lots of folks in the comments. Thanks a bunch for being here, everybody. I see Blue Dragon 5, Cinemographic, Mutale is there, Grady Childs is there, John Early is with us, William Parcells with us, AMC Comics. Hi, folks. Good to see you. So I want to do a little bit of house cleaning before we get to questions tonight. As usual, we're going to be taking questions about whatever you guys would like to talk about tonight. Recent news things, news of the day, whatever's going on. I have not been keeping up super hard this week, so somebody might ask us about something that I don't know about, and I'll either find out if these guys know about it, or I'll do some real quick cursory research while I have someone else take the floor. But anyway, we'll talk about whatever you guys want to do or want to talk about tonight. It's an Ask Me Anything show as usual. If you want to make sure that your question or comment gets read on air and talked about, you can leave a super chat. Don't feel like you have to do that, of course. We are taking pre-written questions throughout the whole show, and we're going to do as many of those as humanly possible. But if you like to support the channel, that is a way to do that. If you want to make absolutely certain that your voice is heard, that is a good way to do that as well. People are asking me about and/or complaining that I have not had a Superhero Rewind up since the Aquaman pilot review. I have been insanely busy with life stuff, as I keep talking about, and I've got other channel things that I've been having to get done. Believe it or not, there's a couple of projects that I was putting on the back burner in December and November, I guess I should say also, when I was doing the 12 Days of Rewind in order to that up on finally getting done, but hush stuff that I can't talk about yet. There is a secret Batman project in the air that Danny is involved in and knows all about. We are very close to, we are 85% done with that, and that will be out for you in a couple of weeks. I'm so excited to finally show you guys what we've been working on with that. It's preposterous, it's ridiculous, it's a big crazy secret, and I can't wait to show it to you. And the last thing we're doing for that, it's going to be a mini series. The last thing we're doing for that is absolutely insane. It's the one thing we haven't shot yet. I've been rehearsing for it. It's nuts. Just wait. It'll be crazy, and you'll either love it or you'll hate it. But it's going to be crazy. The omnibus, we just did the longest omnibus we've ever done. I put that out. It was a couple days late because it took me so long to edit. It's an 11.5-hour omnibus. No, we didn't shoot it in one sitting, but we got most of it done at one time. And the next one is going to be a little bit later than normal. Originally, we were going to shoot one this week, and it was going to be a little bit earlier because Eric's going on a trip next week, which is when we usually shoot it. So it was either going to have to be early or late. And because we had to shoot all the way through Tuesday of last week, and it took me all week to edit, I haven't had time to read and watch stuff. So we've decided to go ahead and put it off a little bit. So it's going to be an extra week late this time with the omnibus, but you got an extra 3 or 4 hours to listen to for the last one. So that comes out in the wash. And also extra projects coming out in the meantime. So lots of cool stuff going on. Also, right after I get done shooting this isn't live or anything, so you guys won't be able to listen to this afterwards, but quick plug for the Genesis Gems guys. I'm going to be recording with them. I go on their Patreon show every now and again, and it's just $1 a month if you want to listen to their Patreon show. They do a great show. Their podcast is usually just about Sega Genesis games, but then their Patreon is about anything tangentially related to Sega or to the Genesis. And I pitched them an Angry Video Game Nerd show, and that's what we're doing tonight. So we're going to be talking about, we're going to be doing a retrospective, probably a couple hours on the Angry Video Game Nerd. So if you're interested in that, go subscribe to their Patreon. It's Genesis Gems, and that should be up in a week or two. issue, or maybe even in a couple days, because that's the one that we're doing for this month, and they've only got 3 or 4 days to get it posted, or it won't be February anymore. So anyway, also Bat Chat is coming back soon. We have Alden's gone. Alden, I guess, got just tired of me talking, and he's left now. Hopefully he pops back in here in a minute, Danny. But I also wanted to mention the Bat Chat's coming back. Danny, woo, Bat Chat.
Yes, no.
And that is not our secret Batman project. There is, in fact, a different secret Batman project.
Yes, it's called Chat Bat, and we get a bunch of bats together and have them talk. We've got vampire bats, fruit bats, scaredy bats. That's not an actual bat. I ran out of bats.
The very first one is going to be called Chat Bat Begins.
Chat Bat Begins.
Mm-hmm. But anyway, so yeah, that is coming back very shortly. We have batch shot a few of those. We batch shot some, and Dan's News is back. Danny Nixon's going to be on that show, and we should have a new one for you this weekend, so look forward to that. So I opened the spiel mentioning why Rewind is late to tell you that that is finally, when I'm done with this secret Batman project, going to be in the forefront of my mind and back when I'm mostly working on it, especially since I have an extra week with the omnibus. So give me a little bit of time, but shortly. And I know I keep saying hopefully soon, but really should be pretty shortly a new episode of some Rewind, if not Superhero Rewind, a Rewind. I announced the split review. That may not be the first thing I end up posting, but that will happen shortly too, even though the sequel has been out for a little while. Hopefully Alden gets back in here in a little bit, Danny. I hate that we lost him. I'm not sure what's going on, but let's go ahead and tackle some questions. So do you want to start with a super chat? Because I'm seeing quite a few of those already, and then we'll go to pre-written.
We'll start with one that was apparently from last week that got missed, that he graciously sent it in again this week as a super chat. So kudos to him. Our first super chat of the night is from The Day Ghost.
I just watched that episode today.
I had to get my Grey Ghost reference in there. I love that character.
So did you remember that the Batcave is a perfect replica of his lair?
Is it really?
From that show? Yeah, I did not remember that.
I didn't know that, and I know they pulled so much from like the character model design from that as well as Fleischer, but I didn't know that. That's
what I mean is in the story. Like we're told that Batman built his Batcave as a perfect replica of the Grey Ghost's lair. I didn't remember that.
That's right.
Anyway, I just thought that was hilarious. I had to mention it.
So I just had a completely stupid moment, and I mixed up Grey Ghost and Space Ghost.
Space Ghost. Oh, okay, but that's fair. But in my defense, Grey Ghost is also yelled like that in his show in that episode.
So no, that's exactly what I was.
So that's why I thought you were doing Grey Ghost.
I was doing the Grey Ghost scream, and I was just getting my wires crossed. Anyways, so I look like less of an idiot. Let me just read his question.
Dude, I was doing my very best to make you look as good as possible there.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
By the way, I just got a message from Alden. He just dropped out, and he's got to reload some things. So he should be right back.
All right. Hopefully, he's able to make it back in soon. That
Hawk Flame says Grey Ghost coast to coast.
I'd love that. Man, imagine if Adam West was still with us and he could do something like that. That'd be amazing.
Be amazing, yeah. And if he did a talk show where you got people on and like he was animated, but everybody else was live action.
That'd be so great. Anyways, to actually read his question, he says, "Hey Cap, would Captain Marvel be your favorite superhero film if it ended with her and the Skrulls smashing into a club where Weird Al is playing, and then Weird Al breaks into a parody of No Scrubs called No Skrulls?"
Well, yes, I would lose my mind. Yeah, absolutely. That's brilliant. I like that a lot. That's awesome. Yeah, Weird Al needs to make an MCU appearance. And, now that you mention that, I have not been properly excited about all the potential 90s stuff that could be in that movie, because the whole Blockbuster video thing in the teaser is wonderful and hilarious. And I'm not thinking about all of the fun that they might be having with that time period.
Yeah, what year? Do they have a set year in the 90s that they're pulling from, or is it just generically the 90s?
I imagine they probably do, but I don't know. And people might already know this. I've been being careful not to look up, not to know too much about the movie besides the couple of trailers I've seen. But I just judging from the trailers and stuff, I would guess mid-90s before early 90s.
That's kind of what I was thinking.
It looks kind of 94, 95 to me. Yeah.
So that kind of not changes what all you reference, but
Batali says it's set in 95. We were spot on there.
Yep. So we'll get probably some Full House references somewhere in there.
That's all Danny wants. He can die happy if we get that.
Oh man, if someone says "Have mercy,"
you're
Oscar. Done. I'm handing it the Oscar. Yeah.
But yeah, I'm gonna say thanks a bunch to him for his gracious super chat. And who was that again?
The Day Ghost.
The Day. That's right. The Day Ghost. Yeah. Thanks a bunch, Day Ghost. Sure appreciate you, buddy. And you did not have to do that. I'm sorry that we missed your question last time. I talked to him after the show last week. In some capacity over text or something, and he was like, "Yeah, it was just a joke, no big deal." But thanks so much for doing that. You certainly didn't have to. Let's go ahead and move on to pre-written or two, and then get back to the super chats. They are piling up, but I want to make sure that pre-written people don't get chatted. So let's go ahead and knock one of those out. Man, I hope Alden makes it back pretty soon.
Mutale asks, Cap, would you ever get Shades back on the channel again?
Yeah, I haven't talked Shades in forever. I should send him a message, honestly. Yeah, absolutely. If he's interested in coming back, it's we just lost touch. It's been a long time since I've chatted with him, and and a lot of that is because we did Marvel Mania. Like, I haven't thought to do more X-Men commentaries and stuff because we did a bunch of X-Men commentaries in Marvel Mania, and that's mostly what Shades had popped in for. Yeah, it's been 3 or 4 years, I think, since I've chatted with him.
All right. Let me copy this super chat real quick before I read the next question and lose it.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, we don't want to do that.
Yeah. Let me scroll back up here. Okay.
You gotta scroll back up.
Yeah, I gotta scroll through like 3 pages of questions to get back to it.
He's gotta scroll through.
I gotta scroll through. Gonna kill all my lilies, says. That's horrifying if they're how I make my mother's fan.
Hilarious. Hold on. I need to know if that's a reference to an obscure Patrick Stewart film called Safe House. I need to know. Please leave me a comment and let me know if that's what that's a reference to. Patrick Stewart in that pulls out a gun and starts firing at bugs, and he's like, "You mother effers are killing all my lilies," and it's the best.
Okay, so he says, Cap, being a Men in Black fan, what did you think of the MIB International trailer? So I'm assuming it's probably someone who is making that reference because he knows a little bit about you to know that you're a Men in Black fan. So he's probably seen the omnibus where y'all talk about that movie.
Yes, I talked about the trailer when it first dropped. I think there's been maybe a slightly longer trailer with some more footage, but by and large, we don't know a lot more than we did before. I'm still waiting to see what the bad guy plot is like. I mean, it's cool if they want to keep it hush-hush and we don't know anything about the bad guys at all, but so far, I don't know what the aliens look like or anything like that, and so I'm really wondering what the threat's gonna be. But they're maybe intelligently not selling it on that, but that also makes me a little bit leery that the threat could be a little bit generic. So that's the main thing that I'm kind of concerned about right now, but so far, everything looks potentially great. I'm excited about it. I don't have a lot more to add from what I've said before, but I guess I'm interested to see what the chemistry of those two will be like outside of Ragnarok and these other roles. I still say I wish that it was flipped, where I just feel like it would have made sense if she was playing the character, if she was playing the agent that had been with the Men in Black the whole time, and he was just coming in. It seems counterintuitive to do it the way they're doing it, but I'm hoping to like it. I mean, I'm hoping that I'll buy it when I see it. So yeah, and all the production values look good. And I'm also just really, I've said this before, I'm also just really excited that they're not rebooting, and that it's still playing to the sensibilities of the original film, and maybe we'll get back to basics a little bit with that. So yeah.
All right, I'll grab one more person's pre-written question before jumping back into the super chats.
Sure.
Cinematographic asks, two-parter. Do you think it was a missed opportunity to cast Chantel Van Santen as Supergirl in DC movies? And do you think that Arrow's Oliver Queen made a mistake revealing he was alive?
I don't have any opinion on the first thing. It's not an actress I really know, and I guess I wouldn't know until we, saw her play the character. Is there something I'm missing here, Danny?
No, he's asked this question a few times, and I feel bad that I've routinely copied the question down and I've never gotten around to asking it, so I wanted to, at least get his question asked.
Sure. Yeah, sorry, I don't have any insights on that, but that's just not an actress I'm immediately familiar with just based on the name. Sorry about that.
He says that's Patty Spivot from The Flash.
Oh, that's a weird choice. Yeah. I'm with you. I mean, I guess we'll see what that's like. I hope she's
Supergirl, but
I wouldn't think so either. But if she pulls it off, that will be an actress with some versatility, because that is a very different character. She reminds me of the cop from The Spirit a little bit.
Yeah, I just miss when all this speculation was that she was the big villain of that season.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh man, I forgot all about this. It's been forever. I forgot all about that. Yeah. That would have been so much better than what they did.
It would have. It would have been so great. You just see this, basically a male figure, rip the mask off, and it's Patty Spivot, very Mask of the Phantasm-esque.
That would be that. And you know what? That's not a reveal I've seen in a long time like that.
No, it would work.
Where like you think it's a man the whole time, and then it turns out to be a chick. But I'm surprised that those shows haven't done that.
I kind of am too.
Or at least not a major one. Maybe there's like a minor villain that does it somewhere, and I'm just not remembering it.
You know what would have been great? Take the mask off, and it's Cupid, stupid.
Oh, no. No, it wouldn't. And I don't want that character referenced in my presence yet. God, I hate her. She's obnoxious. It just got worse on every appearance. So speaking of the CW, oh man, get the pickle that bag. Speaking of the CW shows, yeah, that's you're absolutely right. I mean, if I was Oliver Queen, I probably so it would make sense to come back and not tell anybody, because you wouldn't be putting any of your friends and family in danger. That standard superhero dilemma. But and also it would just be easier to operate under the radar. Everybody thinks you're dead, so wouldn't it be easier to do your job? I'm sure that's what you're thinking. The problem is resources, because you come back and you wouldn't have any place to operate out of, and you wouldn't have access to any of your funds or anything. Like the reason Oliver Queen is able to do what he does is because of his wealth, and because he's got somebody in his bunker backing him up. I don't know if he could do that without his riches. So you'd have to contrive some way to get a hold of that. Yeah. Of that stuff without anybody knowing about it. So yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure how you do that. But also from the practical business side, that show gets made and is done the way it is because of the popularity of the Nolan films. Eric and lots of other people have said that show just starts as a Batman show, and that is kind of true. All the way down to using Ra's al Ghul and doing the earthquake machine plot that everybody thought Dark Knight Rises was going to do. Like they took a plot that people were speculating about and they made it the first season bad guy plot, which is hilarious. So that would never happen. That would not have happened with that show. And also, if he's like I just think as an exciting television show or as an entertaining television show, it would be kind of difficult to buy that anybody would make it like that. It would, because who would you have to talk to? Like you'd be in costume all the time, and you'd have like maybe a sidekick, maybe. But yeah, so that would be hard to swallow.
And that would have probably prolonged the internal narration that he's doing, internal monologue that they do for the most of that first season.
God! And with all due respect to him, because I like that guy, but that's the thing. He's the weakest at. He is terrible at voiceover.
Yeah, it wasn't good.
Like got maybe better at it a little bit later, but like you go listen to the voiceover in the first season, it's awful.
No, and I've done that, like going back to rewatch through it, and I'm like, oh, this is not what I remember the show as, because I completely didn't like zone it out to where I forgot about it. That's never what stuck with me, is like the positives about that show. So it's always jarring when I go back. To jump into the super chats again, Andrew Follett says, if the Dark Knight was maybe Best Picture worthy, was Captain America: The Winter Soldier also?
I would say so. Yeah, absolutely. It's just a really poignant and thought-provoking story, and it's an absolutely thrilling action film. Like I think it absolutely deserved that nod. Now, I would have to go back and look in and remind myself of everything that came out that year, because there might have been enough other things that should have beaten it out that it shouldn't go there. But if you're just comparing it to Dark Knight and Black Panther, the couple of superhero movies that either got that nomination or that people thought they were really shafted for not getting that nomination, yeah, no, I'm with you. Winter Soldier is, of all the other MCU films, that's probably the other one besides Black Panther. Whether you think Black Panther should have been nominated or not, I personally both see why it was, and also think that it probably deserved it as much as any of the other movies they've made. Personally, I don't know about what you think about that, Danny, but like,
yeah. So I didn't see nearly enough films last year to comment on what I think should.
Oh, that was the Birdman year. Yes, indeed.
Oh yeah. Well, just talking about Black Panther, I didn't see enough films last year to speak educated.
Oh, Alden,
or to be educated about it.
I'm distracted because I'm trying to get Alden back in. He just sent me a message and said that his internet got knocked out because they have storms there.
Oh no, man, that sucks.
Danny can empathize with that.
Yeah, because we've had rain for like 6 months now. Hasn't been that long, but still, it
just seems like every few shows Danny loses power in his entire house.
It's either that, yes, and it's obnoxious. It's either that or there's something that happens at work, and I'm like, and I just power and rain and internet in like the country of Texas sucks. So, anyways, what were we talking about? Oh, Oscars.
We were talking about whether or not we thought Black Panther deserved that, and if any other MCU film besides Winter Soldier maybe did also. I feel like those are the two. Yeah,
I just talking about quality of MCU films. I think it's definitely, of any MCU film, is definitely one of the ones worthy of an Oscar nod. Both Winter Soldier and Black Panther in that case.
Cool. Let's do another question, shall we?
Sorry for a second. I thought I had dropped out for a second. You were just waiting on me to come back in.
No, not at all. I know it's unusual for me not to interrupt people. Looks like Alden. Hey, there he is.
Yes.
Oh my goodness! The apocalypse has happened out here. I'm sitting here. I'm like, talking to you guys. And the TV in the living room's not working. TV in my mother's room isn't working. This isn't working. Everything. Not a sponsor of Geekvolution.
I'm sorry, who's not a sponsor of Geekvolution?
AT&T.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you cut out for a second. And you're a little bit glitchy, so hopefully this connection, that's hilarious. Hopefully this connection works out okay, Alden.
Blue Dragon 5 says, turns out Alden is Danny from the future. I think that's amazing.
That's really funny. Is Alden like the scary post-apocalyptic version of Danny? He's like the grizzled, Danny that has learned how to be maybe too realistic.
I think he's like the Bruce Wayne from Batman Beyond, and when we meet up, we have to go deal with cowardly thugs. And he's just going to ask me, are they still cowardly and superstitious? Or I'm going to ask him, are they still cowardly and superstitious? And then, boom.
That's awesome. I
feel like nothing's changed.
And then it turns out he's more like the Kingdom Come version, where he's like, yes, and that's why I'm controlling. That's why I have a totalitarian state with all my bat robots all over the streets.
Oh man,
all might have gone a tad.
I'm sorry, what else, Alden?
I was saying he might have gone a tad too far, just a tad, in that storyline.
Yeah, but you'd be all bent out of shape, and maybe reacting a little bit too extremely if your bones were being held together with duct tape too.
That's definitely true.
It's better than that duct tape. Okay, Danny, let's get back to the super chat, shall we?
All right, Logan Dodd says, "Are you interested in the Dune reboot? Cast is impressive with Oscar Isaac, Javier Bardem, Rebecca Ferguson, and it's the director of Blade Runner 2049.
Yeah, that director is what makes me intrigued by that. I cannot get into Dune. I never have been able to. I keep trying. But I have fallen asleep every time I've attempted to watch the original film. I've not looked at the miniseries, and I cannot get into the prose and the novels. I will at some point force myself to get into that. My wife has read through, I think, all of the original series, that he wrote, through 2 or 3 times, and only in the last couple of years. Like, she came to it late and is obsessed with that series and keeps talking to me about, how interesting all of the mythology and, the politics and stuff are in that. And I want to experience that at some point in some way, but I just could not. I've never been able to get into that prose.
Yeah. I have a similar thing with Dune where right now I'm looking over there, I'm staring at a copy of it that I just bought because I'm really excited about the cast, and Denis Villeneuve is such an amazing director. Like, that cast is stacked, like, to an unfair degree. Like, even the bit roles, from what I understand, are the bit roles are guys like Jason Momoa, Dave Bautista, Oscar Isaac as his dad. Like, it's crazy. But it's the only thing I've ever picked up that's intimidated me, like opening it and reading the first 20 pages, where I'm like, ugh, Lord.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I had that with the Foundation trilogy too. I've never been able to get through that, but
yeah, that's fair. But the movie will probably be incredible. The thing that worries me about it is that he makes Blade Runner 2049, which I think is one of the best sequels we've ever had. That I was so high on the movie
ever. Yeah.
But he lost jobs for Lust. So is he gonna be the same thing? It's gonna be less accessible than a Blade Runner sequel.
Yeah, and see, that's my worry too. And I'm afraid that after 2 of those, he's gonna have a hard time finding work, and he might keep making great independent movies, which could be better in some ways if he's able to get the funds to make the things he wants to make. Because this goes both ways, right? Like, I feel like this with Duncan Jones, where it's like, I wish he just stayed making independent movies. But then apparently the last one he made wasn't any good. I haven't looked at it yet. The sort of, but not really sequel to Moon. But when he directed his big fantasy thing based on a video game.
Warcraft,
which I didn't see because I didn't care, even though I love Duncan Jones. And I heard about how inaccessible it was, and the only people who seemed to really like it were people that were familiar with that world already. And I was like, well, this isn't for me. I'm not a fantasy guy anyway, so I've never watched it. But if he hadn't gotten as popular as he did because of Moon and Source Code, he wouldn't have gotten that project. And then I might have gotten another great independent film from him, or maybe I wouldn't have, because he was making movies that weren't making a lot of money. So it's kind of it's kind of hard to say which you prefer, for these guys to get. And I guess Sarah and I have talked about this a lot on the channel, but you'll have these guys who will get picked up for these big blockbuster things, and then it makes or breaks their career.
Yeah, I mean, it goes one of 2 ways: you're Ryan Coogler, or you're Lord and Miller.
Yeah, precisely.
Granted, Lord and Miller showed them. Academy Award winning Lord and Miller.
Well, and I was going to say, that's actually not the best example, is it? Because got fired for that project, but they're not going to have any trouble continuing on.
Lexi,
that was a very.
There's got to be a better example that we can think of somebody that made like great independent films and then made one movie that didn't do well, and then we never saw them again. Well, I guess the Crow guy was like that.
Lexi Alexander, I don't know. Sorry, not to cut you off.
No, go ahead.
the Punisher Warzone, the director of that, I don't know what she did as far as independent films, but after she did that, she didn't seem to get any work afterwards.
She's done some TV. I think she's done some Arrow and I think a Daredevil or two.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like you could look at somebody like Ang Lee. I mean, like he bounced back years later. Like it probably took him till Life of Pi to become a huge name again. But after Hulk, people were like, "Oh, dude, you." At least in the public eye. I mean, there's more to that to be mined than people thought at the time. But
but it wasn't commercially successful. It didn't do great.
No. So yeah, I'll go. I'm gonna watch it.
Yeah, but then the question, just like with 2049, is like how many people get their butts in the seats for them. It is nice that we're getting some really good cerebral science fiction.
Yeah.
Sorry, Alden, you cut off for a sec.
Oh, I was just agreeing. I agree. They're not going to be able to. They're not going to be able to market, these giant sand dune worms to children. I mean, it would be a great plush, but.
Well, yeah, and. It would be misleading to try if the pacing is anything like what I expect it to be, and if it's anything like 2049 was.
Yeah, it might arguably make 2049 look like a thrilling adventure film.
I think that is very possible, yeah. Danny, let's go ahead and move on, man.
All right. Thomas H. Hill with our next super chat says, "Time travel is my favorite type of story, but there are a lot of bad stories. What can people do to improve them? Your channel is awesome. And have you seen Lego 2 again?"
I have not seen Lego 2 again. I don't know if I'm going to get a chance to go back to the theater or if I'm just going to have to watch it again when it comes out on video. I was pretty down on it and kind of want to give it, another pass. But not give it a pass, but watch it again and see if I feel any differently about it. But with I'm sorry, what was the first part of that question? I was looking at other stuff.
What can people do to improve time travel stories?
Yeah, so, and by the way, thanks for the kind words. I sure appreciate it. So, the thing I always say about time travel is it is a conceit in the first place. It's a thing that there are scientific theories about and that you can mine a little bit from, real and theoretical science, but for the most part, it's a conceit. And it's impossible to make to fully make sense, right? There's always going to be paradoxes with time travel. I don't go as far as a lot of folks do, and especially these days after we have so much time travel fiction now that I feel like you'll hear a lot of time travel fans say, or people who just like that kind of story but don't like to think about the time travel, say like don't give it any thought at all, and like it doesn't matter if it makes sense because it's just a conceit. It needs to be consistent within itself. It should have a rule set that makes as much sense as it can within the internal logic of the narrative. Otherwise, it ends up being like Superman superpowers in Superman 2, where it just does whatever it needs to in each scene to progress the story along, and then whoever is using it is just too powerful, and they have plot armor, and it's kind of just a MacGuffin to make things happen.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the greatest superpower of them all: the ability to influence the story.
Yeah, exactly. Yep, it's the either I read the script already, or the script just coalesces to my will. But
that's the plot of Deadpool 3.
Yes, yeah, it should be. That'd be great. But that's how I feel about time travel and how to make that, how to make it make as much sense as it can, and work in an interesting narrative. Like there's stuff about the Back to the Future time travel that I kind of scratch my head about, but by and large, like the reason people always hold that up as the gold standard is because I know what the rules are for the most part. That whole thing with Back to the Future 2, where I know I talk about this all the time, but it's hilarious. Where like he's in the present and then he goes to the future and takes himself out of the timeline, but somehow he's still in the future. That doesn't work at all. That's still a major problem. But beyond that, it pretty much works. Like, even if you don't buy the whole, well, my hand starts disappearing because of the way things are beginning to go. There are actions and consequences, even if there are paradoxes. So that's what you got to do.
You watch Back to the Future, and then once you feel like you're in a really good mood, you watch Looper, which has rules that are just as good, but it's more grim, and it's better for, like, after dinner.
Yeah, and I remember having questions about the rules in the third act, but it's been a while.
Yeah, I haven't seen it since, I think I saw it once after theaters, but that's still years at this point.
I remember, I mean, I like that movie a lot. I gave it a positive review, but I think I praised the time travel for the most part. But there's a thing in the last act where I'm like, that seems like cheating, but I can't remember what it is now.
All right, jumping into some of the pre-written
real quick, Madman says, I can fix the Great Wall of China with my eyes. It's a perfectly natural superpower.
Sounds legit.
Kellen O'Rourke says, can you see Liam Neeson as Lars, Thanos' father?
Yeah, that would be amazing, actually. No, that's a good call. And I'm kind of surprised we haven't tapped Liam Neeson yet for the MCU. I guess this is just going to be the night where we name actors that I'm surprised we haven't put in the MCU yet.
Liam Neeson. Yeah. I mean, like, if you had talked...
We lost Alden again.
Yeah, definitely making him some sort of cosmic entity of any kind would be great. You could put him in anything, and I would be a fan of it. I think he's great.
Yeah, and he hasn't had to do a whole lot of prosthetics or like CG enhanced stuff yet.
No.
In fact, he starts
was
from that
Aslan.
Place. Oh, yeah, that's true. That's just a voiceover. Like, that's not mocap, is it? Or if it is, it's not.
Maybe it was too early.
I don't think it's his mocap, even if it is mocap.
Yeah, it was probably too early for that because animal mocap. But at that point, probably not.
What's kind of interesting about what I just said actually is he had to do extensive prosthetic work in one of the first things he ever did, which was Darkman.
Oh yeah, that's so true. You always forget that's him. At least I do.
Bob Kane is a fraud in the comments, says, hello, gentlemen. Hi there. How's it going?
What the name you got there?
Cinematographic says, I thought the idea with Back to the Future 2 was that he eventually goes back to the present, and that's why he's in the future. Can we reconcile that?
Oh, no.
Well, because of what happens at the end of that, when he's in the future, then he goes back to the present, so that makes that happen in the first place. Back to the Future time travel isn't usually cyclical like that. Right? Am I wrong?
Also, Back to the Present didn't test as well as the title. So that's why they were no.
Could you imagine that instead of Back to the Future parts 1, 2, and 3, we had Back to the Future, Back to the Present, and Back to the Past, and it totally worked. And I like that could have been titled that way.
Oh, that'd be great.
There is an alternate universe where that is the titling scheme for Back to the Future.
For sure. And then in that universe, they're still making them. So it's like Back to the Past reloaded. Back
to the Present begins. Back to the Future, out of the shadows.
Back to the Future into darkness.
Back to the Future, Balance of the Force unconfirmed.
But yeah, when I say it's not cyclical, like that's the kind of time travel where there is a timeline, and then you can make another timeline, and then you can make another timeline, as opposed to whatever happened always happened. So to assume that is to make it like the kind of time travel you have in the Time Machine, as opposed to the kind of time travel you have in Star Trek. And Back to the Future time travel is more like Star Trek.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm open to that idea if somebody can convince me that that's what the point of that was. I don't know if it was.
Yeah, I want to see like an 8-minute timeline explanation video posted by tomorrow. I'll watch it.
Get your doctorate thesis statements ready.
Yeah, give me the link before it gets copyright flagged.
Yeah, honestly.
Danny,
yeah.
have we done a pre-written question in a while?
Yes, that was actually the last question we got to.
Well, let's do a super chat. How many more super chats do we have at the moment?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Okay, cool. We've got about 20, 25 minutes left, so let's go ahead and do a couple of those and then get back to pre-written.
All right. Ryder says, what are your thoughts on Birds of Prey set photos with Bernie?
I don't know what you're talking about.
I don't either, but I'm excited to see Jack Black renew his performance with Bernie. Well, so fun fact,
that movie would be meta if he's playing like a real life person that actually existed in if he's playing like a really nice funeral director who killed an old lady that actually existed, but then is in Birds of Prey.
So fun fact, that takes place in Carthage, Texas, which is about like 30 minutes, somewhere around that, next to where I live.
Oh,
and I've been on the same street as where that happened because I was going to a house that my mom was working for a real estate agent at the time. Went to the house that was on that same street and we could see that house. My mom told me about it because it was around the same time that movie originally came out. So I love that movie. It's hysterical.
It's a great movie. Yeah, it's wonderful. I just gave away the reason to watch it, but it's awesome. Okay, so I'm gonna do the thing I said I might have to do today, which is look into this and find out what we're talking about.
Yeah, I'm gonna do the same thing because I don't know what he's talking about.
I don't know what he's talking about.
I was cutting out a little bit. I heard set photos, but set photos of what specifically? Because I've seen some of them.
Just said Bernie in quotes.
Huh. Yeah. I mean, I've seen lots of the ones of Harley running around. She looks like Harley.
Oh, pet hyenas and Bernie the beaver. So that sounds like yeah, that's that pet she's got in some recent comic.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So yay.
That's a thing I didn't even know about because I've not read solo Harley Quinn in a long time.
Me neither. But I don't like 352
Harley Quinn, and they kind of built on that with Rebirth, so I don't care. But
yeah, my thoughts as a whole on any future Margot Robbie Harley Quinn things is that she is absolutely the right choice. I just need someone to get it to give her things to say that I like.
Yeah, she's a great choice with bad material.
Because I've said before, and I will stand by this: when her and Will Smith are on screen in Suicide Squad, I like them as choices, but my goodness, it just doesn't come together.
And you can see what the chemistry could have been.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you even through Will Smith start to buy her as almost a co-leader, which shouldn't work because she's a crazy person.
Yeah.
But yeah, when they're on set together, on screen together, they seem like the competent ones. And it's really interesting. Like, it shouldn't work, but it does. And if that whole thing had been, Margot Robbie and Will Smith, the movie, it's probably a better movie.
Yeah, absolutely.
And also, those are the characters besides the Joker that it was most sold on. So, like, why didn't they get more screen time together as a duo? It would have been great.
Weren't there reshoots to pad their scenes out? Or am I misremembering that?
Well, that's really sad if that's the case, because that means that some of the best stuff in that movie was almost not even there.
Well, what the situation with that was competing edits. So they had an edit by Ayer, but then they had an edit by the production house that cut the trailer. And those two cuts competed for the executives. And so the executives screened both and then decided to go with the Hot Topic cut, which was mind-blowing to me. Like, trailers are an art form in and of themselves, but they are not the same skill set in a narrative sense to cutting a feature. That doesn't make sense.
Yeah, and especially the first 15 minutes of that film feel like a trailer for the movie you're watching.
Yeah.
Some people get 2 intros.
Yes, they do. It's ridiculous. And then they don't give the guy who dies an intro so you know who's going to die, not to mention the fact that he wasn't in any of the advertising.
They couldn't have even given him... Wait, maybe they did. I'm just not remembering it. But they couldn't have even given him something with Slipknot music behind it, since they were doing every other, like...
Yeah, since they paid for everything else.
What a missed opportunity. I'm knocking that movie down a whole point just because you said that. Where's my notebook?
You know what? I had the same thought when I saw it. I was like, why is there no Slipknot music?
Because we had to pay for Without Me by Eminem.
Like, you guys already have 3 times the incidental. I can't even say incidental. I guess it was mostly background. But, like, you guys already have, like, 3 times the licensed music that you usually would have in a movie like that. It's all over the place.
That's true. Because you're right. They spent money on Eminem, and they spent money on a Bohemian Rhapsody cover, which can't be cheap. So.
Yeah. Was that a cover?
Yeah, I was Panic at the Disco.
Oh, it's just been a while since I've seen that. I didn't remember that it was a cover.
Yeah.
But I guess it must sample stuff from the actual song. It isn't a straight cover, right? Or is it a straight cover?
It's a straight cover.
Or did they sell the movie on the original Bohemian Rhapsody, but it's not the movie? Is that what it is?
I think that's what it is. The trailer has Bohemian Rhapsody by Queen, and then they paid Panic at the Disco to make one for the soundtrack.
Okay, that's what I'm remembering. Yeah, because obviously we all saw those trailers 1,000 times more than we saw the film.
Absolutely.
I know I did.
Well, DJ didn't, but that's because he's smart and doesn't watch trailers. And
which brings up an interesting point. DC trailers, will we ever reach the unadulterated like Nirvana of Man of Steel trailer 3 ever again?
What do you mean by Nirvana?
Because Man of Steel trailer 3 is the greatest thing that has ever come out of Warner Brothers DC since.
Oh, I don't agree with that. I mean, I think it's good, but I think Watchmen's better.
Well, I mean, I said just since the end of Nolan, like.
Okay. I'm sorry. Yeah. I'm sorry. I got you. Okay,
and they're shared. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Sure. Yeah.
That trailer. Sometimes I watch it and I'm like, man, that's the movie.
Am I right though? That I don't know that we have very often gotten even close to that Watchmen teaser. I just think it's one of the greatest teasers ever made.
Is the Watchmen teaser the one that has "Take a Bow" by Muse?
No, it's "End is the Beginning is the End."
Oh, okay. Yeah.
You just don't get much better than that. Like,
yeah.
That movie did not make the money they hoped it would, but it was not for a lack of trying, and I don't think it would have done even as well as it did if it hadn't been for that Smashing Pumpkins teaser.
I think that the
and say what you want to about Snyder, we know that he chose that music, and he was a genius for picking that.
Yeah. Today's equivalent has to be Logan trailer 1, right?
Oh, yes. Naturally.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh, so good. Welcome to Trailer Talk on a Wednesday night.
Captain Logan and Alden. We can make that a series. No, I'm not doing that, but people would probably watch it.
Are you not doing it because you don't want to, or you're not doing it because you're looking at your agenda and you don't have time?
Yes.
What about a series where you look at bad trailers and call it trailer trash, where you just trash a bunch of trailers?
Oh, I like that. That's pretty good. But the problem is you would inevitably get people that would be like, don't judge the movie. We're just saying the trailer size.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're just saying it's not the way you advertise that movie.
Yeah, because
it looks like it's probably the worst thing ever. But then I feel like anytime you trashed a trailer, you would be almost obliged to go see the movie.
Yeah.
Even if you didn't want to see the movie.
Yeah.
I don't know, though.
You'd get the fans of whatever that property is coming out saying, no, you're not giving it its fair shake. You got to see the movie. And then you got to go spend money to see a movie that probably is going to suck, like Fan 4 Stick.
I still haven't seen that.
Lucky you.
Yeah, you've shown brain cells. That's pretty cool. No, Danny is appealing to the side of me that likes to do projects just because the title's too good. So, like,
that's such a good point.
How do you not make that series now? He's like, you got to do a thing called Trailer Trash. Yeah, if nobody else has a series called Trailer Trash, I just feel like it needs to happen, and I don't even wanna.
I support it.
Of course you do, because you like refer to trailers by number.
Yeah, I do. now that I'm thinking about it, I'm like, wow, I really do remember.
You are. If I ever did such a crazy thing, you are clearly the only choice.
Like, even like now with like Captain Marvel, I've had the weirdest experience where Captain Marvel trailer 1 is good, Captain Marvel trailer 2 is man, then Captain Marvel trailer 3, I was back on board.
I don't think I've even seen the third trailer. After the first couple, I just don't care anymore. I'm like, I'm seeing this movie. I've talked a little bit about the advertising. I've got other things to do. Like,
yeah, I saw.
If I was a news channel, of course, I would keep up with that stuff a lot harder than I do. But I am not primarily a news channel. Unfortunately, I do speak for a living, which is maybe which I don't know is much to some people's chagrin, I'm sure. Danny, what else, buddy?
All right, David Crabtree has our next super chat. He says,
that down. I'm writing that down. I shouldn't do it, but I'm going to write it down. Trailer trash.
Oh yeah.
Question mark. Alden only co-host choice. Co-host choice. Okay, anyway, sorry, go ahead.
I'm just imagining you writing out Rewind doing that exact same thing. Just saying every word you're writing down.
Narrative structure. Long sigh.
And they aren't afraid of giants.
This film is a large pepperoni pizza.
Pizza dude's got 30 seconds.
I gotta figure out how to keep this food metaphor going. With broccoli on it. Take that. It means whatever you want it to mean. That's the metaphor.
All right. David Crabtree says, I was totally surprised by the Tick Season 2 trailer dropping today. Can't wait for April 5th. Any specific expectations for the second season?
Yikes. I didn't know that dropped today. Goodness, I wish I watched that before this, because that's all we'd be talking about. Dang it. Man. Is there a way to do trailer trash where you can also talk about good trailers? Like, could you get away with that? Could you call it that? But like also
you would just have to like sort of pivot and call the show the Trailer Park. That way there's some trashy trailers, but then you get like the nice double wide trailers too. Off to the side.
The double wide trailers are all made by Sony. By the way.
And then there's a triple wide trailer, and it's Into the Spider-Verse.
Trailer Park, double wide. there's a whole thing that I have written these notes down. Anyway, yeah. So we didn't have a date before today. People keep asking me when is that series, when is the second season dropping? We know this year sometimes, so it's good to finally have a date. April 5th. That's great. I was hoping we wouldn't have to wait till the summer. So man, I'm excited about that. I think that first season, altogether, because it took us about 2 years to get to see all of it. I think that is hands down the best superhero show on television. I'm a little bit biased because of my love for that character, but Ben Edlund is a genius, and I feel like it is. I feel like he's being given all the rope he needs, and he's finally able to make what he really, really wants to make. And I'm excited about how popular it has been, and that people have finally gotten to see what that character is like without a net. It's so exciting. It's wonderfully involved, and it is making the case for half-an-hour television. It is a comedy, but it also is absolutely a good drama within that comedic context. The Orville needs to look at it closer because it knows how to really blend those things together. And I like the Orville, but it cannot decide if it's a drama or a comedy, and it needs to be in that half-an-hour format because it keeps doing sitcom-y things. It does not need to be 45 minutes long. But anyway, I digress. Second season obviously is going to be the big Aegis season. I'm hoping against hope that we get a lot of answers about really odd cryptic things from the first season, like what exactly the Tick is in the dream with the nightlight. That's the big thing that I have got to know what that whole thing is, because it looked like it might be existential at one point, and then the Tick is a real person. So did Arthur's consciousness somehow dream him into existence? Because that's sure what it seems like, but I don't think they'll go that far. I think it will be more practical than that somehow, but still, the Tick was talking to him through a nightlight in the past. It wasn't just a dream. Something's going on there. So there's a lot of hints about how the Tick can't exist without Arthur, because he doesn't remember anything at all. until he meets Arthur in the first place, which is the thing we do with the Tick a lot, where he doesn't know very much, if anything, about his past, but they're real specific about it in this, where it's almost like he was born yesterday. That's the big thing I'm hoping we get that season. I'm also hoping for some familiar faces. This is the live action series that has it's not the greatest special effects in the world, but they're decent enough. Finally we have a live action series that has the potential to do Shareface. And I don't know if we'll get that this season, but I want something like it. And I also really want Barry Hubris, the other Tick. That needs to happen. And Edlin has said that we're going to get some more familiar characters this season. So it's kind of just a guess as to who it's going to be. But anyway, I am a giant Tick fan, and I don't know if this is interesting to anybody else, but I have a lot of opinions about that.
I'm just amazed that you haven't actually seen that trailer.
I just didn't know. I just didn't know about it.
No, but I'm just saying, like, that was such a thorough take on something you haven't seen.
Well, I was kind of half reviewing the first season again. So, yeah.
That's true. That's true. Now I'm going to be sad for you if you see the season 2 trailer and it reveals other avenues.
William Parcell asked a really interesting question in the comments, so I want to bring this up real quick. He says, is Tick a mainstream character now? Boy, that's a great question. That's hard to answer. I'm going to say no, because even though that show has been pretty popular and people are watching it, you notice that it has not changed interest in merchandising or anything. Like, we need to get some merchandise for that show. It is really toyetic, and it is a crying shame that we don't have action figures yet. But if they came out, I don't even know how well they would move, even though that show is popular. It's interesting. Right. Like, when you go look at like Tick comics and other Tick merchandise, everything is still as easy to get its hands on as it ever has been. And you would think that the value of the first issue at least would go up. And it hasn't. I mean, that's a tell-all by itself, honestly. I still feel like, well, it's that and one other thing, too. I still feel like I am in a very, very small elite, I don't want to say elite, but like elite camp of people who like love this character as a character and not just an iteration of it. We still don't have a good Tick wiki. And I've always wanted to take the time to work on it myself, but I just haven't had the time. I also think it's ridiculous that it's just called the Tick Wiki and that it's not called Tickopedia. It's right there. It's right there. It's ridiculous that they haven't done that.
That type of stuff will drive me crazy for the rest of my life. So now you have to do it.
Yeah, exactly. And I've been talking about it for 3 or 4 years, and I just can't find the time to do it because it's a commitment. Well, if you go look at the Tick Wiki right now, a bunch of stuff from that show has been added. And some of the articles are decent, but nobody's gone back in and done all the comic stuff. So yeah, I'm gonna say no.
Yeah, I have to agree. Just because my friends who aren't comic readers but are comic movie and television fans, they're not talking about the show, and that's usually my like barometer for like if it's mainstream or not.
Yeah, and then you go back to like San Diego when they were launching the show. It seemed like they tried to make a push for this to be up there in the upper echelon of streaming properties and things that those water cooler shows that are all on services now, streaming services. They had they're giving out the Tick antennas and they're doing a whole thing. They had that whole booth and it was a whole big thing, but it didn't feel like people were walking past it, to go to other things.
Yeah, but then word of mouth helped a lot. Like, I think that booth would do better now. Like Danny, I get that you're not hearing people talking about it, but I would like to know how the numbers work out, because I keep bringing it up with people who never think to bring it up themselves. But, oh yeah, I watched that. Like, it seems like a lot of people have watched it and just don't really talk about it.
Yeah, that's a good point. But that also kind of helps with the argument that it's not mainstream if people aren't talking about it.
Yeah, isn't that weird? Like, it should be, and it should be more than it was in the 90s. And I think it has the potential to get 3 or 4 seasons at least. But it's probably not going to. It's probably not going to be any more mainstream than it was in the 90s when it had a lot of merchandise. But like I said, it's stupid that we don't have toys. Like, I need my Danger Boat, and I need I need my terror ship, the big T. Like, that needs to happen. I don't know. It's so toyetic.
Yeah, I'm looking at an article here that says that it was in the top 5. Tick season 1 was in the top 5 seasons for Prime globally in 2017. At least I don't know if that's gotten better.
Amazon keeps talking about it like they're really surprised by its success, and that's why I'm saying I think it has a shot at least 3 or 4 seasons.
Yeah.
Writer, the Tick did get a Funko Pop. That's one of the few things we got. But they didn't do a line. They did a regular one, and they did a San Diego exclusive that came out right before it. They did a shiny version before the regular one came out, and I got both of them. I think it's the only San Diego exclusive that I have, actually, as far as my pops go. But yeah. Also, I've started, Alden, you mentioned that booth they did. I've started buying that stuff up.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I got the hat that has the antennae on it.
Oh, that's cool.
It's great. They also made an iPhone case that has antennae.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and they made a poncho. Because there's a whole joke about a poncho in that show. This is not a poncho library, and they made a Tick poncho.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's great. Okay, how many more super chats do we have? I just want to talk about the Tick now. And I want to end the show so I can watch that trailer. But
we have 8. It's gone up.
8? Oh my god, it's already 10 after. Okay. Throw them out. We'll go as lickety split as we can.
All right. Ryder asks, can you comment on the Captain Marvel / Rotten Tomatoes theory?
I have not looked too much into that. I heard that, so I don't want to speak too much to that right now. Rotten Tomatoes, like I started watching a video about it from Midnight's Edge, and I didn't finish the video, so I know I know the bare bones of it. I guess Rotten Tomatoes made some changes to their platform, including taking out fan reviews, and that people are attributing that to the backlash from Captain Marvel and stuff that Brie Larson said, but that's all I know about it.
Yeah, like they've removed user reviews now. You no longer have the ability to do those I want to see it or not want to see it comments before release. When the movie's out, fan reviews are open.
Oh, that's a great change.
Yeah, I was gonna say, is it gonna be really controversial if I say, yeah, do that?
No, IMDb should have been doing that from the beginning, because what's the point of leaving a comment like that and boosting up or artificially lowering the score before it's out?
And then if we haven't already, can we also make that change on Amazon?
Yes, with reviews, please.
Yeah, can we do that too? So people can't review the thing before it's actually been released. I'm sorry, Alden, go ahead.
No, it's okay. I mean, there's already, even when it is out, there's already a problem with reviewing, but they would need hundreds of staff members, to enforce any type of guideline. So like that's a bigger problem in and of itself. But like Star Wars Episode 9 already has negative reviews.
No, that's not
on Rotten Tomatoes, things like that, and it just becomes a cyclical thing of the people that are not being just respectful. Like it's just a respect thing, and it's a smack on the hand, and it'll be better in the long run is how I feel. I mean,
Mutale says if they did this a month in, no one would care, but doing it now, they look suspicious. Yeah, but it's a good change, so I guess I don't really care that much what the impetus is. I don't mean that I don't mean to have like an ends justifies the means mentality, but like if that's the reason that they did it, like I'm surprised that it took this and not like Star Wars, like
or Ghostbusters. There have been other far more vitriolic or toxic like disputes over films before it even releases.
Absolutely.
That, like if they're doing it now, it's a welcome change that should have been done months, maybe even years ago. Not so much.
Okay, now are we wrong about this? Madman says it's just a want to see score. That it's not reviews. That they just took off like that the score of like how many people want to see it.
Well, the want to see does have comments.
Kind of problem. Did they take out that whole thing entirely? Because that I can see why that's a problem for people.
Yeah, I yes or no. Do you want to see it or not? Is a good thing to have.
Yeah, and okay, if that's happening, that is kind of problematic, and I can see why people would be complaining if the Captain Marvel thing shut that down. Where it's like, oh well, we can't have that percentage be too low, or it's going to affect the numbers of the movie, so we're going to take that out of Rotten Tomatoes. If that's what people are complaining about, I think I agree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
David Crabtree says it's only the want to see score. Writer expands more, says it's not the reviews at all. The Blue Dragon Warrior says the want to see score then translates to user review score, so it's still a good change. So it seems like the two are tied together. Personally,
no,
go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, if it gets because if it gets bombed in advance, like they've done nothing to differentiate those two. It just transitions into being it just gets relabeled essentially when the movie is out as none of these things are perfect options.
Sure. No, you're absolutely right. This is a thing I was not remotely prepared to talk about, and I don't know enough about it, but
this is the first time hearing about it, so I just want to preface by this is the only knowledge I have, so I don't want to come down on one side or the other because I don't have any information on it. So Radio Child says it's the deep state controlled by Skrulls. Funny.
Obviously.
Jumping back into our super chats, Jeffrey E. Patron, and this was more tied into the Dune conversation. He says, technical difficulties in Dunes and drugs.
What now?
Technical difficulties and Dunes and drugs. So
I don't know what that means.
It was a comment from when we were discussing mine and Alden's technical difficulties and Dune.
Oh my God, has it been that long since we did? Like, are the super chats that old?
Yes.
Well, that's amazing. Man, people are asking questions that I want to answer right away, but we have a bunch of super chats. We've got to get those knocked out. Let's keep going.
Mr. Roboto says, will you be reviewing Doom Patrol Season 1?
I don't know if I'm necessarily going to review the whole season. I will try to talk more extensively about the pilot and any other episodes that I watch when I get to the next omnibus. There's just so much stuff to watch. I was tackling the Netflix shows as whole seasons because that's how I started with those, going all the way up, and it was ostensibly part of MCU, and so I was doing that with most of those. I never reviewed all of Iron Fist season 2. We reviewed the first 6 episodes because we were done with that after that. We were I don't care anymore. Yeah. And we stopped watching it and we just reviewed what we saw. But that was the only one I did that with. So yeah, if I really get into it, I will. It just depends on what I have time to do and what I care about. If I don't love it after the first couple episodes, I don't know if I'll take the time to finish it right away. But I will talk about whatever I see.
All right.
That's all I can promise with that.
Grady Child says, I just heard Will Smith isn't coming back to the Suicide Squad because of scheduling conflicts. Also, Seth MacFarlane for Adam Warlock, and he sings.
Yeah, I've heard that idea before. It's not a terrible idea. Yeah, as far as Will Smith goes, so I keep hearing conflicting things about this. We did a captain's log, and it's sometimes unfortunate how we have to post these because we shoot it a few days before we post it, and then everything changes. It's like I post it's like, this is not a news video. This is an olds video, but. I post this video where Eric and I were talking about the news as we had heard it, which was that Suicide Squad was going to be a straight up reboot and that it wasn't going to include Margot Robbie, and that that Gotham City Sirens was also not going to have her. And what I have heard since then, ostensibly, is that there now is no Gotham City Sirens movie, and that she is going to be in the Suicide Squad reboot. And I don't know what's going on. I don't trust anything. I have no idea what's going on with all of that.
It is the worst planned section of that universe. I mean, like what my understanding was that what is tentatively called the Suicide Squad, just like how their new Batman is the Batman.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, is James Gunn is going to basically cherry pick, and it will be I guess the events of the first one still happened, but you can look the other way.
Well, that's fine, especially because the DCEU is apparently so they have to pick and choose so much anyway. I don't have a problem with that. If it were me, I would totally recast all of it. Yeah. And I like Will Smith in that role. But just so as well, I was going to say so as not to confuse people. Does it not confuse people, or does it confuse them more? I guess I don't know.
Yeah.
because
I think we're so used to reboots. You start something with a new cast, people are going to just assume reboot and just go with it.
Yeah, and it can be a reboot where the events of the first movie sort of, kind of happen, but if it doesn't matter, then it doesn't matter. But yeah, I mean, I would rebrand the thing as much as possible, especially with Gunn writing it, because it's going to have his unique stamp on it, and it's going to be a very different thing. Right. You know, he and Ayer, of course, that's not Ayer's movie really, but you know, they have very different sensibilities. Although I think those two making a thing together would be fascinating. Just as a side note.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, we're going to see what collaboration with Gunn is like, whether he likes it or not, because Kevin Feige has now officially confirmed that Volume 3 is going to be the Gunn script.
Right.
So somebody is going to have to do a take on a Gunn thing.
Yeah, that'll be interesting.
My conspiracy theory about that, Alan Horn is the head of Walt Disney Motion Pictures, and he is the man that dropped the hammer on Gunn, not Feige, not Bob Iger. His deal is done in a couple of years, and I think Feige's pushing the movie past his expiration date, and then they'll bring James back.
Oh, interesting. But you think they'll bring him back?
I think that they are going to wait for the PR storm to die, wait for the one person in the well, he was the only executive that wanted him out.
Yeah.
And Bob Iger being a CEO is not going to undermine his head of film. And so I think that once he's enjoying his retirement, they'll see it as an opportunity to look like heroes. And they'll be like, so here's James.
We'll have to see if it gets rushed into development or not. Because it's weird that we would get heroes.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, I'm not saying that the fact that we've heard that they're going to use his script means that they're going to start filming it next year or anything.
No. But it is curious because we don't know how much is ready, because Guardians 3 was supposed to start shooting last month.
Right. Yeah.
So it's like...
And also, if they wait 2 years, like, are they going to have everybody on board? I don't know how the contracts work.
Yeah. That's probably per appearance. Most of the MCU deals are, like, they've got you for 6 or 7 or 8, so...
Yeah, but they might have a really hard time putting together, you know, all the schedules.
That's true. And if they start moving people into other films in order to keep Guardians in like some kind of light, or they, you know, pushing it back means they have to go forward with putting them other places that might run into that contract as well.
I mean, after Infinity War, dudes, I've been saying just give me Thor 4 and backdoor those characters into the movie.
Or give me Guardians 3 and backdoor Thor in there so we don't have more bad Thor movies.
Yeah, seriously. I like that idea a lot more, but that's just me. Yeah, I don't know. I would the really unfortunate thing is that before all the politics and bureaucracy got into play here and he got ejected, it's unfortunate that he wasn't able to go ahead and get his third movie made, because he had said that that was going to be the last Guardians with that cast. It would have been really a lot easier for somebody else to come in and make that movie.
Yeah.
So it's just unfortunate that he didn't get to, you know, finish with those characters, unless Alden's theory is right and he ends up doing it anyway. But we'll see what happens. Let's get those super chats knocked up.
All right. William Parcell asks, do you think the way Captain Marvel is being introduced is a mistake? It's via a retcon, and with them building her up as the savior of the universe.
Can I see the movie before I cry retcon?
And like, also, yeah, like I think that the definition of retcon is a little bit loose there, because a retcon would be if they had said the hero of the 90s was super guy, and then they were like, no, the hero of the 90s was Captain Marvel. That's a blank period.
Well,
yeah, what's the retcon supposed to be?
So
Iron Man's the first hero?
Yeah, I think it's more that we supposedly didn't have superheroes before that.
Well, we already did that with Hank Pym.
No, we didn't. Hank Pym was a secret.
Captain America is the big one, because that was a very well-known character in the
universe.
That's true. He was a public guy, yeah.
So both of those don't count as retcons, and it's fine. We do this kind of thing with comics all the time, right? Where like we'll say you know, like you have this modern hero that everybody thinks of as this first superhero because the superheroes from eons past were more underground and nobody ever talked about. And like you can call that, I guess, like a slight retcon, where like obviously that wasn't originally the plan, but it doesn't necessarily contradict anything. Hank Pym was working for SHIELD. That was a secret. That's why it works. He's tiny. Nobody knows about him. That's fine.
True. That's true.
Captain America wasn't a superhero. Captain America was a figurehead in World War II that also fought in the war, and then he wound up in ice, and everybody thought that he died, and he went out on a big triumphant note, but you wouldn't consider him a superhero because he was in a war. Like, he never went out on the street and fought crime.
That's
I don't
true.
even know if anybody knew that he had superpowers. So
that's
like,
what I was going to ask. Yeah, that's a good point. They might have thought that it was story.
No, the whole SHIELD has existed going that far back and had its name that long. That's a straight up retcon.
That's a retcon,
but the superhero thing is not necessarily. So I need to see the movie before I even know if anybody on Earth knows about Carol Danvers. I don't know that yet.
The important element with this discussion as it pertains to specifically this timeline is the fact that Fury's in the movie. Because the one out that they might have that's very easy without having to do possibly as much work as they might have done is the fact that when Fury meets Stark and in Iron Man's 1 and 2, the quote is already, there was an idea. So there's room to work there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they have always alluded to, this is not a project we came up with because we saw you in the Iron Man suit. It's a project that you fit.
It made us think of it again. That's a great point. Yeah. From everything I've heard, and I've tried to stay away from reviews for the most part, but it sounds like that movie is going to take place a lot more in space than anybody realizes.
Yeah.
And
which good.
I just don't think that you're going to see her in the costume on Earth all that much. So anyway, I just want to see the movie before I call it a retcon. But I'm sorry, what was the rest of the question? I'm being unfair. I'm just complaining about the retcon thing.
Oh, and it's via the retcon and with them building her up as the savior of the universe.
But like, what was the question?
Oh, sorry. Do you think the way she's being introduced is a mistake?
I just want to see the movie.
Yeah. I mean, like, it's a high pressure position for any character to be put in, but we just saw Thanos and his power level, so I mean, all bets are off.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and I'm hearing people say that like it's a big, I don't know, for lack of a better word, like PR stunt or audiences by making this female character the most popular, the most powerful thing in the Marvel universe. But if you put her in there, she just would be like she's pretty powerful in the comics too. Like,
yeah.
Also, let it not be forgotten that Thor had it 100% in his capability to defeat Thanos. It was hubris that lost the day. So
that's absolutely true. Yeah, sure. But yeah, like she probably is ultimately even more powerful than Thor is. But I would also make the argument that I don't want to make this about a gender thing, but that's the conversation. So if I have to get in that conversation for a second, I will say we had 10 years where Marvel didn't have a female-led superhero movie, and when they finally do one, that's the most powerful character in the movies. That's an okay trade-off to me. I don't mind that.
And me personally,
am I wrong? Is that a crazy thing to say? I don't think that's a problem.
I think if Captain Marvel was a man in the like Marvel or whatever, and Feige had said he's the most powerful character in the universe, no one would have a fit about it. They'd say, "Yeah, that makes sense. He's a very powerful character in the universe, and we're introducing him after Thanos." There's logic to be introducing the most
natural
character in your universe.
I agree, and then it's also, we have to keep in mind we're getting her solo film and then her in a team setting the month later. You have to give them a chance to show you that team setting.
Absolutely.
Because you don't know what kinds of setbacks she might have to make her fit a certain role. She might be a support player, because nobody is going to tell me that Endgame is not going to be the Steve Tony send-off. Yeah. Like, she's going to be a B player.
Yeah. I personally think it's a lot of people taking...
Sorry, go ahead.
I think it's a lot of people taking their negative opinions of Marvel in the comics and assigning that to assuming that that's what the Marvel Cinematic Universe is going to do as far as like the whatever gender politics or however Carol's written in the comics, and thinking that's the direction they're going to go.
I want to give it the benefit of the doubt until I've seen it, because they've won me over with a lot of stuff before, and I'm excited about it being a thing that isn't already popular that they can win people over with like they did Guardians. It has been kind of ridiculous how the comics have continued to pretend like she's more popular than she is. Yeah. And I agree that they have played up the political side of that, and that's unfortunate. But that doesn't mean that she shouldn't necessarily be adapted, and that we can't do something great with her in the movies and turn her into, you know, a great character for that movie, or for those movies. And regardless of how you feel about stuff Brie Larson has said or whatever, because
and also you got to keep in mind what universe you're watching. Like if you're sitting there and you're a fan of the MCU and you're unsure about Captain Marvel, it's totally fine to be unsure. But I encourage you to look back at their version of Tony Stark, their version of Hawkeye, their version of Star-Lord.
These are all
reimaginings.
Yeah.
And even early on, when they seem to be pulling a lot from the Ultimate Universe, and their Captain America is nothing like that Ultimate Captain America. Yeah. So it's not like you even have to worry about which version.
From Millar sensibilities, thank goodness. I mean, I like stuff about Millar stuff. Don't get me wrong.
You don't want him to start yelling, "Do you think this A stands for France?"
I don't. I really don't want that. I'm probably all right without that. Yeah, that is the most morally ambiguous Captain America. Absolutely. But
that's second only to the "Are you dense?" line from All-Star Batman and Robin.
But yeah, we are already way out of time, and we've got to finish these super chats. So like, we could talk about this all day, but let's get back to those, get them knocked out, but I guess the last word I have on that is just I want to see the movie before I talk too much about that about the movie. Like it seems like we can't stop talking about Captain Marvel and it's not out yet. We got a week. Like we're about to get to talk about what the movie is, which I'm excited about. So anyway, go ahead.
All right, our last super chats are all from the same person. Bag Studio says, "What would each of you do for a direct sequel to 89?" And to that I answer, go watch 92, Batman Returns.
Thanks, Justin. Love you, buddy. Wait. I thought you weren't a big Batman Returns fan.
No, but what would I do for a direct sequel to 89? I'd go watch the direct sequel to 89, which is Batman Returns. I was just making a smart comment.
He means if you made it, what would you do with it, Danny? That's what he means.
I was thinking of like a what would you do for a Klondike bar type of situation.
No. He's saying if you made that sequel, what would you do instead of Returns? I think is what he's saying.
Two-Face.
Yeah, naturally. And obviously Billy D. Williams Two-Face. But it would have to be a lot more of a character-driven thing and a smaller movie, I think.
Yeah,
I agree. Question: Do I have the knowledge of a person in 2019?
Let's say you do.
Okay, because if I have the knowledge of 2019, but I'm back in 89 and they're like, "Congratulations, Alden, it's a hit. What are you doing?" I'm gonna say, guys, let's wait until 2019, and we will do Beyond in this world with Michael Keaton, and then Terry McGinnis is Michael B. Jordan.
I don't know about the Michael B. Jordan thing, but mostly because I still don't dislike the idea of him as Superman, and I kind of would rather us do that. But see, I think that's a great idea to do now. But I would have wanted more movies in that franchise first, right? Yeah. Like,
I don't like Returns.
No one does.
And so then my mind immediately.
People in the comments, right? Don't say that, Danny, because there are people in the comments right now that are defending it. Okay, don't do that.
No, the war on Christmas has begun.
No, that's exactly right. That is always kind of literally, if you think about it. That is always down to art versus story, right? Like people that care more about the visuals, the aesthetic, and like that would probably not mind just watching that movie with the sound off. Those are the people who Batman Returns. If you don't think that it makes sense and you think it's a little cynical, then to those folks, you miss the point. You don't get that movie, and I'm one of those people. I have a hard time with that movie, but
yeah.
So yeah, I am with Danny. I would make it Two-Face. I would make it Billy D. Williams. I would keep Vicky Vale because writing her out is stupid.
Yeah.
The way the end of that is, and then I would end it with a setup for a third movie that brings the Joker back, because I always thought that him somehow surviving that and maybe faking his death or something was the way to go with that. And you could say, well, that doesn't make any sense with the way he dropped, but have you watched that movie?
With Joker, we find ways to bring it back all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. And I like the idea of making the laughing balloon his statement that he's still alive somehow.
Yeah,
that's cool.
I think you could even do a thing where you bring the bad CGI because it's not actually computer graphics, with that really awful looking, not Jack Nicholson falling. I never fell to begin with. I found some way to make it into the cathedral
with the greatest ADR in history. Ah!
It's awesome.
I love it. Okay.
He also sorry.
Yeah. Good. Sorry.
He also asked, "What prequels have you always wanted to see?"
Boy, I don't know if I've given that a lot of thought because I'm sick of them. Like
Bruce Wayne Begins.
Oh, does he mean for Batman or in general?
I was more just making a smart Alec comment again about Batman Begins, Bruce Wayne Begins. It's all about like literal Batman year one. It's from birth to his first birthday.
Well, at the risk of being a broken record, the only Power Rangers thing I really want is a Zordon movie. So I guess that's my answer. And I always wanted a Man of Steel thing, or Man of Steel. I always wanted a Krypton thing too. I said this last week, but then we got the TV show that I should have always wanted, and I have to keep reminding myself that exists. But yeah, I can't think of any other great answers.
I would say I haven't thought about this at all, really, until this moment, but I kind of like it. I want to see. I want to see the original outbreak of the conflict between the Browncoats and the Alliance in the Firefly universe.
See, that's not a thing I ever need to see.
I don't think I need to see it, but I'm interested to see how China and America form together and what because it was Joss Whedon always found that weird political middle where it was these Southern, what we would consider almost conservatives that were fighting the tyrannical, we want everything to be great. He inverted those tropes in a way through his own politics, and like a mirror. He like contacted his own mirror self to write that conflict. And so I've always been curious about, even before Mal, when Mal was like a child, I don't need those characters. But
yeah, no, that would be better if it was a different cast.
Yeah.
I guess by the same token, you could also do like a miniseries or a movie about, and I know this is going to get rebooted soon and stuff, but like you could have done, I should say, a miniseries or a standalone movie about one of the earlier Slayers in Buffy. You could do like,
that'd be a good one.
You could do like one of the ones, in like the 1800s or in the Middle Ages, or, you do Frey, but, in the past. That'd be cool. Oh, also, what am I thinking? Romulan War in the 22nd century. We almost got that dramatized in a movie before 2009. That still should happen.
I didn't know that was almost a movie.
That was almost a movie. That was one of the things that they were kicking around before the rights issues happened and they had to reboot.
Interesting.
I'll say Medieval Spawn.
Oh boy, yeah. Which is weird because it's impossible. It can't be done because of rights issues with Neil Gaiman. Because
Neil Gaiman does write that one, doesn't he?
Yeah, and that cannot be done in the same way that Angela can never be in Spawn again.
Wait a second. So is it possible that when Gaiman struck that deal with Marvel with the rights package, that Marvel could have published a Spawn?
No, I wouldn't think, because that's this weird gray area where like McFarlane wouldn't have the rights to Medieval Spawn, but because to use them again, but because it's a Spawn thing, I wouldn't think that Gaiman would either.
I'd imagine it would be something
that has to just be a thing that cannot be used at all at this point, right? Because it's almost like everybody has the rights to it, so nobody does.
I would think something where Todd McFarlane owns whatever the all-encompassing rights to Spawn are, but because whatever the legal jargon for Image whatever is, he can't own Medieval Spawn because another creator created it. But that creator can't take it somewhere else because it's based on because it's based on IP owned by someone else.
So the only way that you can publish Medieval Spawn is if they give them one of those oversized get along t-shirts where they both have to wear it.
Yeah.
Yep. They would essentially they would have to file for joint custody.
That's a sketch. Hopefully, the legal battle.
Hopefully the weekends that working on the script are not the weekends that Todd McFarlane has Medieval Spawn. I'd much rather have
McFarlane tries to get Angela back in the divorce, but that's the killer. That's the thing where they can't get joint custody of Medieval Spawn because he's talking about Angela again. He's like, no, that's my daughter, and I've given her away. There was a marriage with Marvel, and I gave her away.
Yep, her new dad is Brian Michael Bendis.
Who's the Marvel?
No, not anymore. No, he left. He's disowned.
That's true. Who's writing Guardians right now? Cates?
No, Bendis went to DC. He's writing Superman.
No, but I'm saying who's writing Guardians right now?
I don't remember. Maybe this Cates. I'm not sure.
Who's the Marvel character who looks exactly like Spawn?
Yeah. I can't think of his name. I always do this. I always need Eric for this. But there has been talk about him getting a movie, which is hilarious.
No, I want Medieval, that character.
It's not actually it's the guy in a costume, as far as I understand it.
No, I know. I just think that
is it Night Watch?
Night Watch. I can never remember that. I
literally Googled Marvel character that looks just like Spawn.
Medieval Night Watch. That's awesome.
That reminds me of the time that my wife, when we were in college, I've told this story before, was trying to figure out the name of the Metallica song Unforgiven 2. So she just typed in Google, nah. She found it that way. It's amazing. Just the power of the internet. Okay, how many more super chats?
One more.
Oh, sweet. Okay, let's get it back down.
Studio says, which do you want most? Maul, Old Republic, Qui-Gon, Young Yoda, or Battle of the Bands with the Cantina Band versus Sice Noodles from Jabba's Palace?
First of all,
going in a totally different direction. When he started with mall, I thought we were going to be talking about like different kinds of brick and mortar stores.
Would you rather have a mall or a coffee shop?
Or an outdoor bazaar?
First of all, I just want to say that I'm going to disqualify the last option because Sice Noodles and the band from the Palace would annihilate the Cantina Band in a musical duel. So what are we talking about here? Like, that's not even close. So I'm going to take that one off the table.
But I'm imagining a Devil Went Down to Georgia scenario. And that would be amusing to see.
That would
It would be. Max Rebo is the hero.
So what was the thing about Maul? I missed some of that.
Which do you want most? Maul, Old Republic, Qui-Gon, or Young Yoda?
For standalone films or for streaming miniseries?
He doesn't specify. So
he's asking which one you'd rather live in your house. All of the Old Republic, Darth Maul.
I'll take Young Yoda because he takes up the least amount of space.
Yeah, I think my answer to that's got to be Old Republic, right? Just because it's material we've not mined outside of EU much. That would be the thing to do, I think. I mean, like I know it's been all animated, but we've done so much Maul, and I haven't seen a lot of it, but I just know there's a lot of it. So like, and I can't get excited about Yoda backstory at all. Care. No. But I've always been intrigued by what I've heard about the Old Republic stuff. I've not read that, but everything I've heard about it is really interesting.
The Old Republic is amazing, and we have no information on what David Benioff and D.B. Weiss from Game of Thrones are doing. But if I was a betting man, if they get 3 films, given their speciality, like I feel like that's where you go.
Especially because no one's been allowed to go to that period yet in New EU.
No, and what they have been allowed to do is establish the broad stroke events. So I'm not going to do this now because we're trying to wrap up, but it is possible to stitch together major conflicts like you could do in American history, World War I, World War II. Like, they've got it down, and now all it needs is filling in, and they've been very careful about that.
What it was an expanded universe, and they just haven't given us the details yet, or is it different?
It is slightly different to where it almost feels like, because Knights of the Old Republic, which is obviously the most famous story from that era in the video games, was I think 3,000 or 4,000 years before the Skywalkers. They've got it down to maybe just a millennia. Like, they've condensed and simplified a bit of the wars, because as much as there is good stuff in Expanded Universe, it got nuts at certain points. So they've boiled it down to 3 major wars, one with Mandalorians, which is obviously on their mind. So.
Right, yeah, with a TV show.
Yeah, which I'm super excited for. So if anybody wants to tweet me about Mandalorian or tell me why I'm wrong, I'm always ready for that too.
I want to be excited about that.
I'm really thinking that streaming service
right now. I'm excited about to some degree.
Hold on, you cut out for a second. What'd you say?
Oh, I'm sorry. I wasn't sure which of us cut out because we started talking over each other. I just said, like personally, I can't get excited about Star Wars material at all right now. I've been going back to old EU stuff, but I'm hoping that wins me over to some degree.
See, I'm at this weird place where, because I consume everything, it's almost hard for me to... Do you ever have this with Star Trek where it's hard for you to unclick? And so when people tell you, like, oh, Discovery, I really like it. And then you're like, oh, but this, and this. So, when people like, because controversy incoming, I love The Last Jedi, but I completely understand that I'm bringing things into it and that I'm therefore taking other things out. And so I have that with the entire brand.
Yeah. I mean, I don't have exactly that with a lot of Star Trek, because when we get the stuff that's, outside of continuity or doesn't fit, but they tell us it does, I don't tend to find ways to make it work. I tend to go, yeah, that's dumb. They shouldn't have.
So Star Trek doesn't have a mandate of canon.
It does. It's just complicated, and we don't have time to talk about it right now. With the new stuff, it's a big problem because none of it can count because of rights issues, but they tell us it's in original continuity, but it's not. And what we're learning is that there seems to be a difference between Prime and original continuity. Those are actually 2 different things. It's very complicated. Yeah. So what it means is nothing that's been made recently actually counts in continuity. So if you hate it and you don't want it to count, you're in luck. You just have all the stuff you had before, and you don't have to worry about it. Star Wars does not have that. Which is the reason that, in my personal opinion, because I don't like some of the stuff going on with Star Wars right now, I feel like Star Wars is actually in a worse place than Star Trek is, because if you don't like the stuff that's going on right now, you're stuck with it, and it affects the stuff that came before it. But I don't have that with Star Trek, because apparently that stuff, like Discovery, can't be in canon. It doesn't matter how much they tell us it is; it just can't be. It has to be 25% different for them to make it with the same. They're making it on the same contract that that Paramount made the 09 movies in. They actually apparently could have made that in the 09 continuity, but they chose not to.
So weird.
So weird. It's very, very strange.
We call that Discovery problem the Fantastic Beasts Crimes of Grindelwald problem as well.
Well, Star Trek didn't used to be mired in that. I mean, there's a lot about Enterprise that doesn't really work and shouldn't, and so it's complicated, because with something like that, a lot of it sucks, but we are stuck with it because it does count as canon. Yeah, anyway. Well, folks, thanks a lot for watching tonight. We are way out of time, and look at Danny, he's falling asleep while we're looking at it.
I'm glad y'all started talking about Star Wars versus Star Trek, so I could catch a little nap.
I will be back again next Wednesday. No, I'm sorry. Next week's going to be a little bit different. So because Eric's taking a trip and I've got to move some things around, next Wednesday night, we're going to start Morphomania early. So we're actually not doing Morphomania at all tonight. That'll be back on Friday, and we are I believe this could change, but right now the plan is to do the 2017 movie on Friday. So we're going to do that at 9:30. Next Wednesday, we're going to have Morphomania earlier. We're going to start at 7, and we're going to do our normal bat shooting for about 3 hours. But that's gonna start at 7, and then no Captain Logan show on Wednesday, but the Captain Logan show will come back next Friday at 8 o'clock with Morphomania afterwards. That's what we're doing next week. So I will send out memos and remind people about that. But next week's gonna be a little bit different than normal. And anyway, thanks again for watching. Hope you guys all enjoyed it. Alden, thanks for joining us, buddy. I hope you come back sometime.
Of course, man. Whenever you want to have me, I'd be more than happy to come on and talk about why Dune is going to be an epic box office failure.
It really is. And it will probably be a freaking masterpiece, but it will make like $5-$50.
Yeah,
that's unfortunate.
It was great finally getting to like actually talk with you.
For sure, man. Yeah, it was awesome. I mean, aside from South Florida just deciding it didn't want to have internet for that 20 minutes, it was a great time.
I'm glad it came back. That was lucky.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just randomly, my phone started pinging with messages, so I was like, oh, I guess I'll switch back to the real connection.
Because usually when you lose internet like that, it takes a while.
Yeah. Yeah, it was really strange.
Mine's usually out until like 3 a.m. no matter what. It could go out at like 12 in the afternoon. It's out till 3 a.m.
Ugh. It's the worst.
Once again, folks, thanks again for watching, and see you again with lots more content here this week on Geekvolution. I'm Captain Logan. This was my regular producer, Danny Nixon.
Bye, guys.
And guesting with us tonight, Alden.
Auf Wiedersehen.
See you later, folks.